Hello, my name is Beck, and at the start of 2020 I made two videos. So one was series I want to start in 2020 and one was series I want to finish in 2020. So I'm going to watch both of those videos in this video, it's like a videoception, and then respond to what I set as my goals in the past. So this is part of my reacting to old videos kind of series that I do at the end of every year to keep myself accountable and to wrap up what I've done during the year. So I'm going to look at series I want to start in 2020 first. So let's go. Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a video where I kind of chat through the list of books that are on my radar that I want to read in 2020. First off is going to be a fairly big one, and I'm really nervous about starting this because I know it's a very long series and I tried a sample of the audiobook and it wasn't really my jam, so I'm gonna have to read all of these physically, which is very intimidating, but it's got a huge fandom and I'm just gonna say it. It is The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Initially, when I said I'd tried the audiobook and then didn't like it, I thought I was talking about Malice by John Gwynne, but no, it is The Wheel of Time, and I think you can see in this video, I own two books in The Wheel of Time. I've definitely read the first one, so I have started that series this year, and I do plan on reading the second one very soon. So the first book on this list is definitely a tick. As for the audiobook though, I'm actually in the unpopular opinion category of this. I don't really enjoy Michael Kramer and Kate Reading's, I think that's how you say her name, Kate Reading's performance of the audiobooks. I listened to some of Brandon Sanderson's books on audio and they are done by Michael Kramer, and initially I was feeling a bit sleepy when I listened to them, but I just kind of got used to him and that's how I listened. But they're not an audiobook that I love. So that is why I was very intimidated, because I knew that I had to go into this whole series physically. So as far as this video is concerned, that is a success so far. The next on this list is the Dresden Files, and I've heard this pitched in two words that absolutely hooked me and I didn't need to know anything else, and it was wizard detective. I definitely started Dresden this year. As of this video, I'm like 10 books into the series. I got my partner onto reading it as well, and we've both done a spoiler discussion, so I'll leave my Dresden playlist below. I am so happy that I started the series because it's like catnip to me. I'm obsessed and I'm already planning on rereading it, and I haven't even gotten up to date yet. So I started Dresden. I'm very proud of the fact that I did, and the audiobooks are sublime. So get onto the audiobooks for this series if you have not yet, because it's an urban fantasy that is stunning on audio. And the next series that I want to read is also a fantasy series, and it's got a lot of hype recently because the show for it on Netflix came out on the 20th of December, and it is The Witcher. I have read the first two books in the Witcher series, and by that I mean I read the first two collections of short stories, and I gave the first one a 4 and the second one I think a 3. I want to say a 3.5, but I think I downsized it to a 3. I didn't love obviously the next collection, but I want to start the actual book series because the first two are just short story collections, and I think I will benefit from reading an actual novel length story following Geralt rather than having the fractured story experience that I've had so far. But as far as the TV is concerned, or the show is concerned, I really enjoyed the series, so I'm looking forward to actually delving into more of Geralt's story. But because I'm such a character reader rather than a plot reader, this seems to be very informational and like older style fantasy, and I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I really hope that I do. I'm gonna try and be optimistic. I want to start, or rather continue, this series in 2021. So I started it this year. I read 2 books in it. I think I read one of them for the readathon in April, the Owls readathon, and I'm just happy that I got 2 books into the series because that was just my goal, just to start the series, not to finish it. So doing okay so far. I've got 3 for 3. Next on this list is another fantasy book, and I think it's YA leading into adult. Please do correct me if I'm wrong though. It's called The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Oh no. I did read The Poppy War and I gave it a 3 stars. So at least I started this series. As far as this series is concerned though, I know it was completed recently, but I don't have any plans on reading further. It's just a series that is not for me. I do want to revisit the first book and reread it and see if my thoughts have changed, because now I know what to expect going into it, because I just expected it to be a dark, gritty adult fantasy that was quite gruesome, but also had a magical school. And it started you off with a promise of a magical school, and then it whisked that away and changed in the second half of the book. So now that I know that that happens, my focal points will be different when I read the series. So I don't know if I'm still going to be disappointed by the way that it's written. So I really don't know. And I want to like it because so many people are obsessed with it, but I just don't think it's for me. Even though I'm going to try it again, I don't have high hopes. So I started that series and I've DNF'd that series. So technically we're 4 for 4, but just one of them isn't a success. This next one is if you couldn't guess, another fantasy. And I actually, if you've been here on my channel a while, when I went to Japan last year, I did a reading vlog and I started this on audiobook, but I DNF'd it because I just couldn't get invested because it was multiple perspective. And I hope it's not the same thing as I'm struggling with Anthony Ryan, but I struggled differentiating the different narrators in Malice with each other. I did finish Malice and I gave it a 3. I really had to push myself to finish that book. I really wanted to DNF it, and I'm glad that I finished it just so I have a full picture in terms of its scope and what it was trying to do. But I've talked about Malice in a couple of other videos and I just don't like it. It wasn't my cup of tea. I just didn't vibe with this book, and that means that I unhauled the quartet. So that is a series that is off my TBR, and I feel a lot lighter because of doing that, because all of them are like 600 pages long, if not longer. So I definitely feel lighter after DNFing that series. The next one is actually a book that I keep seeing raved about, especially on my friend Steph's channel. I'll link her below. She has been talking about The Diviners a lot because she's really anticipating the 4th book, and it comes out next year. I've read all of the Diviners books. I listened to them all on audiobook. I don't know when I finished the series, but I'm assuming I finished it around April or so, because I know King of Crows, the 4th in the quartet, that came out in March. So I finished that, I gave it 4 stars. Unlike a bunch of people, I quite enjoyed the conclusion, even though overall in the series, book 3 was my favorite, I reckon. I finished that series. So that's not only a series I started in 2020, it's a series I also finished in 2020, which is an achievement. I'm actually quite proud of that one, especially because all of them are audiobooks that are like about 19 or more hours long. And even though I do listen to a lot of adult fantasy on audiobook, those are still fairly long books for a YA series. So I'm proud of that. I'm quite happy with that one. And then lastly on this list, I actually want to read more of Rick Riordan's stuff, but he's got a imprint called Rick Riordan Presents, where he, I guess, boosts up authors who are own voices authors writing about mythology from their own culture. Unfortunately, this is probably the only one that I've dropped the ball on, which is a bit of a shame, but I actually do have, oh, it's behind my head. I have Arusha and the End of Time on my bookshelves, so I've looked peripherally into starting the other books on Rick Riordan Presents imprint, but I haven't delved into buying a bunch of them or investigating them to consume yet. So Arusha is going to be where I start, but definitely the others, Dragon Pearl and Stormrunner, are ones I'm also interested in. I think my library has Stormrunner, maybe Dragon Pearl as well, but I'm not entirely sure. So those are definitely on my list still, and those are probably going to carry over into next year, just because I haven't gotten to them, and we're obviously in December now and I'm trying to wrap up stuff that I already owned rather than stuff that I've just recently bought or will acquire in the future. Yeah, I unfortunately dropped the ball on the last one. The last one in that video, and I couldn't complete it. Oh well. I did read The Trials of Apollo, the last book in that series, so I did technically close off a big overarching series of the Percy Jackson universe by Rick Riordan, but in terms of delving into his imprint, didn't do that. So some boxes are ticked, some aren't. But that is it for my 2020 to start video, and now I'm going into the to finish in 2020 video. I don't think this is going to have as many ticks in the boxes as the previous one did, so we'll find out because I'm about to play it and probably regret the things that I've said in the past. Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a video where I talk about the series that I would like to finish in 2020. This first one I talked about in another video and it was my 5-star predictions video. So it is Parasite by Mayra Grant. I already revisited that 5-star predictions video and it didn't turn out very well. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't what I expected. It felt like you were drinking a soft drink except all the bubbles had fizzled out. So you still kind of got the taste, but you didn't get any of the vibe or the buzz. That's how I felt reading this with the apocalyptic scenario and the sci-fi scenario. It just felt flat to me. So I DNF'd the series. I'm not going to continue. Although I do like Mayra Grant's other work under a different author name, and I would like to start Middle Game next year and probably the October Day series as well, because I've heard that they're really great series. Also the October Day series, as recommended to me by a friend. They are urban fantasy, and I feel like if I like Dresden, I'll like those. And they're also narrated by Mary Robinette Kowal, who is an author that I quite admire. So I think those are in my near future, but as for this series, not going to continue. Next up, I have a book that I put on my priority list for 2019, and then it didn't end up happening just because I got distracted by other stuff and I didn't prioritize it. Oops. And that is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith. No, I unhauled this whole trilogy. Well, I know it's more than a trilogy, but I only owned the first 3 books. I didn't want to read this after all of the nasty stuff that J.K. Rowling has been supporting lately. All of the things that have been coming out on Twitter with her supporting conversion therapy, and it's just ick. Yeah, I didn't want to support her. I didn't want to support her pen name, so I got rid of those books. Because surely if I'm after another crime book, I can find one. There's tons of crime books. So I was going to do that instead. And these were secondhand that I'd been gifted years ago anyway. So it's not like I went out and bought them brand new. I didn't really feel too bad about getting rid of them. I felt bad that I couldn't love a series that someone in the past has loved enough to gift me, but it's just what it is. I wasn't interested in them. And I just had them sitting there for so long and I never read them. So it seemed like a waste. So that's why I got rid of them as well, because someone else is probably going to enjoy them. So it is what it is. Next is a series that is actually by a local Australian author. It's A Town Called Dust by Justin Woolley. No. I DNF'd this book after, 19 pages? Maybe less. So, ba-bow. And then the last book on my list, or the last series rather, is a middle grade series. It's a middle grade fantasy. It follows 2 identical twins, but they're a girl and a boy, and it delves into Egyptian mythology. I love this series by Michael Scott. I've read the first book, The Alchemist, and I want to continue on with The Sorcerer and then the rest of the series. That's awkward because I unhauled all of them. I enjoyed the first book and I gave it 3 stars. So when past me is saying, I loved this book, I'm a little bit romanticized for the memory. I liked the first book because my friend recommended it to me and I very much had his recommendation tied to that book in my head. So whenever I thought about that book, I thought of his enjoyment and that's what I associated it with. But I have no interest in reading further, which is why I got rid of them. Maybe in the future, I might pick them up through my library because I don't have any nostalgia attached to them. And this is a book series like Percy Jackson was for me that a lot of people read when they were younger. So they have the nostalgia and that's why it benefits from them rereading it. But I don't have any of that connection already established. So that is one of the things I didn't want to read it for. And then I just wasn't connected to the characters and the story. I think I started the second book twice and I was just not getting into it. And I was trying to force myself to push through it and enjoy it. But if you've got to force yourself to like a book, then it's not going to be for you regardless. So yeah, unfortunately, I unhauled that series. There you go. That was all of the books that were in my prior 2 videos. I had some successes, some DNFs and some misses. So I think it was a fairly balanced picture. I was hoping for more enjoyment, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that I started Wheel of Time and Dresden and The Witcher, which were my 3 big major ones. But there you go, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will chat to you down in the comments and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.